Welcome, welcome, one and all. Knowing your why takes hard work. It takes hard work. It takes determination and it takes discipline. You heard me right. Those are the two D's. It takes determination and discipline to know your why because of the kind of work that you have to put in on the back end so that the behavior that is shown on the front end looks easy. And as children would say, easy peasy. So knowing your why takes hard work. It takes determination and discipline. But one must try despite this. One must start the journey. And that means that even though things are not aligned, you must step out. Because this June, we are talking about intentional living, as we are actually honoring the last Tuesday of the month. Today, we'll be looking about the idea of optimizing on teachable moments. And our guest today, this is her choice of intentional living. So even though things are not aligned, I would like you to open up your mind and receive this information on how you can optimize on teachable moments. Is this an opportunity for you? I don't know. I'd love for you to take time and share with us in the chat at the bottom and just share with us your thoughts. It doesn't mean that once you know your why, automatically it will fix everything. In fact, the minute you know your why, something called limiting beliefs, they actually take root in your mind. The minute you know your why, there's that voice or voices that come into your mind and say to you, what if? Say to you, you're not good enough. Say to you, why you and not somebody else? What is it that you have that somebody else does not have? You know, at this point, your mind is just protecting you because you're transcending to another level. You heard me right. Your mind is protecting you. This is where your limiting beliefs reside, in your mind, because your mind knows the comfort zone so well. So my words of encouragement for you is that your why could be your new comfort zone or your new normal, as we speak of nowadays. So when these negative voices come to you, acknowledge them, allow them to be, speak to them, challenge them, and actually have a dialogue with them and say, I get it. I know where you're coming from. However, this is where we are going. Come along and let's do it. Because once we speak to our limiting beliefs and we show ourselves, our inner voices, that we're able to transcend, the next set of limiting beliefs will come from that level. From that level. Growth is all about being different from yesterday in a forward motion. It's about moving forward, not moving backwards. It's not about standing still. So when we know our why that is applicable today, then we know we are transcending to another level and we need to overcome our limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are great if we use them appropriately and in this way, using them as a pedestal to success. Using them as a pedestal to success. Here's an example. What if I try today and I fail tomorrow? What if I try today and I fail tomorrow? That's a limiting belief. However, if you do speak to this limiting belief and say, let us go ahead and try and see what happens tomorrow. And then tomorrow you actually do fail. Do you know you have failed, but you have tried, you have started today. Many a times it is said that you'd better have a regret of something that you started than having a regret of not starting at all. This is what life is all about. So today we seek to understand ways to optimize teachable moments. This is what we are doing. Welcome to Tuesday Talks at 3. This is a platform for women to help one another on our daily journey as we go through the sphere of life. My name is Lucy Makridis and I am the founder of LMC Consultancy. And I'm an expert in helping women get unstuck and onto their full potential, their true potential, through unlocking these very limiting beliefs that I've just been talking about. I am a clarity coach. I'm a mentor. I am an online facilitator. And I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast, for choosing you, for saying no to whatever it is you have said no to at this very moment so that you could be here. So like I said, June is about intentional living. And I'm just going to check and see whether you're intentionally with us live on this session. And I'm just checking on my phone, and I'm having a buffer moment here. But let's see. Yes, we have been live for the last 5 minutes. Okay, as you can hear, loud and clear. Brilliant. And it's good to see you there, Kavi. I can see there are others watching. Great. Today we're looking at optimizing teachable moments. What is a teachable moment for you? Can you identify a teachable moment? Or what has it done for you? Are you going through one right now? Take time and share with us here on the Facebook chat, and we'll be able to sample. So today, my guest is a very special guest. I have known her for many years. She is family. And I'm celebrating family today because this particular woman came into our lives, into our home, and she was able to continue leaving a mark. And for this, I honor her. This is my sister-in-law that I will be introducing in a moment. And I do hope that my introduction gives her the great honor of the position that she holds in my home. And why am I bringing her on? Because I have seen her carry out this intentional teachable moments. We've had these moments together and shared, and this is kinfolk, somebody I can relate to when it comes to teachable moments. There's one love that we share, and that is teaching children in whatever circumstance it is, in whatever event it is. We take a moment to honor that teachable moment. So as I bring her up on screen, she is a postgraduate degree holder in business administration. She has a higher diploma in HRM. She holds a bachelor's degree in education, and she's a member, a rep of the Harriet Botanicals. But like I said to you, I have known her for many years. This is my sister in love. And today she is going to be taking us through her take of intentional living as she pulls through teachable moments. And I welcome Nancy Makumbi, as I bring her right there. There's Nancy. We can all see her. Nancy, great to see you here. Karibu. Would like you to unmute your mic as I am checking the people who have logged in to us. We've got Tim Katama, karibu sana. I can see that you are a new audience to us. Sunita Mendes, it's been a minute. Karibu sana. So Nancy, today it's all about optimizing on teachable moments. And I was just sharing with the audience today, Nancy, how I am so honored to call you my sister-in-law, my sister in love, my sister. And that we draw a kinship when it comes to the love of teachable moments for children. And we have great fun. So Nancy, would you just like to say hello to everybody? And as you're saying hello, give us a definition of teachable moments. For those of us who are new to Tuesday Talks at 3, can you give us a definition of teachable moments?
Okay. Hello to everyone. Thank you so much for coming on live with us today. Lucy, I'm also honored to have you as a sister-in-law. Thank you very much for that honorable introduction. I'm honored to be here today. I've seen LMC grow over the 1 year, and I'm so proud of your achievement and very honored to be on board today. So as Lucy has already explained, the teachable moments are really a part of intentional living. It's something that I carry on, I do without much thinking. It's actually a lifestyle. Intentional living, it's basically a lifestyle. There's an intentional dad who told us it is a lifestyle that is based on deliberate attempts to live according to one's values and beliefs. And I borrow that from our intentional dad.
I am taking down notes.
So that really is borrowed from our intentional dad, Eric, who told us basically, you know, it's a deliberate attempt to live according to your values and beliefs. So what are your values as far as teaching is concerned? What are your beliefs as far as teaching is concerned? And once we tackle that, then we are good to go. So make it a lifestyle. I have made it a lifestyle. Yes,
I
and
love the fact
what
that
inspired you?
I love the fact that you've gone through it talking about a lifestyle. It has to be a lifestyle. There's this fad about losing weight, you know, especially when we start the beginning of the year. We've got these great New Year's resolutions because we've had a festive period where perhaps we have overindulged. And we want to shed a bit of that water retention that we have gained over the last month or so. And the fallacy of it is that we then decide to go on a diet to get rid of this water retention or whatever we may call it. And because we just do it for a few days, it doesn't hold any water, literally. We fail miserably. We start day one, day two, we're on a diet, whatever diet means for us. Diet means different things for people. And then by day three, into the first week, we've given up. However, if we chose for it to be a lifestyle, Nancy, you know, in the definition that you've given me, it's a lifestyle based on one's deliberate attempts to live according to their values and beliefs. A lifestyle. That means if I poke you at 3 a.m. in the morning, that lifestyle should ooze out of you. And therefore, the same thing, if you're going to decide that you are going to go on a diet, then it needs to be a lifestyle, something that you do every day and not for a specific period. You decide this is what you're going to do. So with intentional living, it's a decision. What am I going to do in every waking moment? And in one of my trainings, I talk about decision making. And decision making means that we decide what we are going to do and then going for it. So in my introduction, Nancy, I talked about determination. Determination is not an easy thing. I mean, waking up and doing this thing over and over again is something that we have to do. But then I get ahead of myself. You talked about values and beliefs when it comes to teachable moments. And these values and beliefs, I'd like to talk about them a little bit later as we come back to that definition of teachable moments and what they are. Can you give us at least 2 or 3 things that we can relate to? And as you're doing that, I'm just going to acknowledge who has joined us. Yes, Sunita, yes. Oh, and my brother is there. Boni, nice to see you then. Tim Katama says, Nancy, my ex-classmate. That is lovely. That is lovely. So guys, we are asking you to share with us your teachable moments. What does it mean for you? And now as Nancy explains to us the definition, Nancy, teachable moments, over to you.
Okay. Just to let you know, if you poked me in the middle of the night, yes, you could just have to sit down and be taught about interrupting, you know, growth, interrupting metabolism, yes, and all that. So
teachable
it's
moment.
likely to turn into a teachable moment. Yes. So yes, with teachable moments, I just realized that I get the inspiration from the fact that a classroom does not have to be confined to 4 walls. It can be at any time, anywhere. It's just, you have to intentionally look out for teachable moments that you can optimize. So it's a part of intentional living. Look out for, you know, situations that you can optimize and just bring out some teaching. So poke me and you will need to be ready.
I love that, because that tells me already it's a lifestyle. That already confirms it's a lifestyle. So for my audience, what is it that you have as your lifestyle when it comes to teachable moments? Do you make use of what you want? Do you optimize? Aldovenia Talia, I hope I pronounced your name well, says, Nancy, I'm so proud of you, from Maggie. And yes, she has taught me a lot. Asante sana. I will call you Talia for now because it's a mouthful and I do not want to pronounce your name wrong. So karibu sana Talia, and thank you for your comment. As you can see, Nancy is smiling. So Nancy is continuing with definition of teachable moments. Go ahead, Nancy.
I'm actually done with the definitions. It's just look out for teachable moments. And probably we go into what is it, you know, the aspects probably of a teachable moment. How do you know that this is a teachable moment? Is it that it will come written time to teach? No, it will not. So it's just to be in sync with what is happening around and about you. And let me just say at this juncture that a teachable moment does not have to be restricted just to the children. It's actually to any person around you, somebody who is in a position to learn from you. You have seen that there is a need for that person to learn something. So you grab the opportunity and go ahead and teach. Teachable moments are unplanned. They're unplanned. And once you find a teachable moment, you just grasp it.
Yes,
It arises from a chance, and it's a fleeting moment. If you don't grab it at that time, it's spontaneous, it will move. So it requires that you have your senses out, you sense it and seize the moment and go ahead and teach. So in some cases, you might not be in a position to, you know, to realize that it's a teachable moment. So in such a case, you can decide to go ahead and create one. So you can choose to create a teachable moment.
It's interesting. I love the way you use the word in sync, because in sync would suggest that everything else that is happening within your body and your environment, they're all working towards one greater goal. Now, if the greater goal in this point is optimizing on teachable moments, that is when you will start to see teachable moments everywhere. And I know it was with you, Nancy, that we were laughing the other day when we were having a chat as we were building up to this session. And we're saying, you know, the moment that you decide you want something, you start seeing this thing around. And I remember talking about if you want a red car, suddenly you just see red cars in the street. They were there all the time. They were there all the time. And these are the opportunities. They're there, but you don't see them because you were not intentional. You had not put your mind to them. The one that we laughed about is, you know, if you decide to get pregnant or if you're pregnant, you suddenly see pregnant women everywhere. It's not because they were not there before. So the intentional thought already, and just like I started off by talking about the why, and it is so important that we just go back there and we revisit. Knowing your why takes hard work. You know, the determination, the discipline that is required. And when we start on this journey, that is meaning that we commit to going for this why, in this case, intentional living and optimizing on teachable moments, then we will see these teachable moments crop up in every area. And I love not only the word in sync, and now I'm reading off my notes. You said that it is unplanned, it is fleeting. Perhaps then it is spontaneous. We have to sense it. That is where the in sync comes in. We need to seize the moment. I remember during Father's Day session, we talked about time is a fleeting when we are dealing with our children. If that moment is gone, it is lost. We may have to create a moment. I'd love to hear more from you on creating a moment. However, let us just look at values and beliefs, Nancy. So a value, determination is a value. Discipline is a value. The beliefs are very important because your upbringing, your culture, again, these are things that are done differently in our different settings. And here I'm talking about going beyond the regions. So how we would have a teachable moment today here. I'm in Nairobi, you are in Mombasa, somebody else is in Nakuru, somebody else is in Uganda. We need to be able to see how these beliefs come in and be aligned so they can be a teachable moment. And I love the fact that you say teaching these aspects should not be confined to the four walls, because we need to take advantage of opportunities to impart knowledge at any given place, at any given place. So today, as we seek to understand ways to optimize teachable moments with our children, Nancy, I really would like you to take us through how we can create these moments. Because once we know what the definition is of these teachable moments, it is us taking opportunities of them around us, putting it into our mind. But at times, we have to be intentional in creating these teachable moments. I don't know whether you agree with me. And if you do, how then can we create teachable moments, Nancy? I may be putting you on a spot here. But just being able to ask you this question will help the audience. And Agnes Mo here, karibu sana. Good to see you. Tim Katama says, values and beliefs, the core foundations to living a fulfilling and purposeful life of integrity, true compass to your destiny. You couldn't have put it better. Nancy, creating teachable moments.
Yes. Now, creating teachable moments is, as I said earlier, to some extent, be in sync. So dial in, have your antennas out. Dial into what your child is saying or what the employee is saying or insinuating. In a way, once you dial in, you're able to pick up the whys, the questions, the doubts, and you can grab the opportunity at that moment to impart the beliefs and the values.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can also be willing. You can also be willing to engage them in dialogue, engage them in discussions, basic discussions, hearing their opinions, following with questions. The questions will give you answers. The answers will be able to enable you to gauge what is their scope of understanding. And based on that, once you get to know they understand until this much, then you can go ahead and build up on that. You pick up from what they know and you continue to what it is that they don't know, which which is more or less like part of your beliefs or part of your values or part of a concept that you have learned before. So you go ahead and impart that knowledge once you have made more or less an assessment, and then make it honest. Make it an honest dialogue, not a dialogue that is vague. Make it honest. Build up on honesty. As one of the comments that you just read, build on values and beliefs are integral for our integrity in our lives.
This was Tim Katama, yes.
Yes. So foster on an honest dialogue. Be as honest as possible and go as much as you can. Do not stop. Again, do not stop the line of thought of the employee or the friend whom you're discussing with or your child, a student. Don't interrupt their thought. Listen to them all the way and then build up on that. That forms a very good basis of creating a teachable moment.
Wow. I'm already hearing the value there is patience, You've got to have patience. And I'll just leave the employee or a colleague on the side with children. Because I remember when my son was about 6-7 years of age. And in fact, it was with my brother Boni when this conversation was happening. And my son kept on asking Uncle Boni, why? And everything that Uncle Boni said to him, my son would ask, why? Because my son was building up on it. If he told you, I can't remember the concept of the conversation. All I remember was the beautiful way with which my brother answered. But although he answered my son's questions, there's a beautiful cutoff that he gave. And he told him, because of the becauses. And that was age appropriate for that 6 or 7-year-old boy. And to this day in my home, when there's many whys and whys and whys, we smile knowingly and we tell each other because of the becauses. And for us, it means I have heard you. I have heard you. Let's talk more. Let's open this dialogue. Now look at that small experience between my son and his uncle. And to this day, it is one of the foundations of our teachable moments, in that we need to be able to engage with a child, to dial in to their level of understanding. I love that, Nancy. We need to encourage their line of thought. I mean, what he could have done at that point is just stopped him and told him, because I told you so. And many a time as parents, this is where, or guardians or teachers, this is where we go. When the questions become too much, too many, and I've got other things going on in my life, it's because I said so. Now, because I said so stops the flow of honest dialogue. It stops it. However, although I love those points, there's one that stood out for me, Nancy, when you talked about insinuating. Whatever this conversation is insinuating, a powerful word there. And for me as a life coach, I think of body language. I think of the things that are not being said, because your child could be there having a conversation with you, but saying what you want to hear. But because you know this child, you know this ward, you know this minor, you can already tell the things that they are not saying, even as they are saying. Even when the child is sitting in the room with you and not saying or uttering a word, Nancy, their body language is already speaking to you. And therein, for me, lies a teachable moment. You talked about honesty, and I loved the honesty bit. Fostering honest dialogue is so important. Fostering honest dialogue with our children. So guys, as we continue, we are waiting for your comments. Catherine Omariba, you say teaching through daily habits. I love that. Teaching through daily habits. Do our habits model the values we believe in? Powerful question. Do our habits model the values we believe in? Guys, let us keep this engagement going. Do they really model the values that we believe in? What are the values that you believe in? Is it honesty like we are speaking right now? Are you fostering an honest conversation with your guardians? Are you jumping onto that boat of a teachable moment? So Catherine Omariba, I really love your comment. Teaching through daily habits. Do our habits model the values we believe in? Now, last week when we had the father, Eric Manziad, Eric, his ears must be burning right now because I don't see him on our session today. Eric, one of the takeaways that he left us with was he was suggesting that if you saw how your child turned out, would you be happy? Would you be happy? And he was insinuating that if this child turned out like you, would you be happy? And if you're not happy, what do you need to do today to change the who you are so that you can effect the legacy of what you leave behind for the next generation? Mm-hmm. So your beliefs and your values, yes, they're what make up this integrity and make up the fundamental aspects of your life. What is it that you're passing on as a legacy? So Catherine, thank you so much for that question. Do our habits model the values that we believe in? Guys, if they do not model the values that we believe in, we really need to go back to ground zero and start looking at what they are, because now we've got a whole generation depending on us. So Nancy, I'm just going to recap a little bit on what you said were teachable moments, creating teachable moments. And I can see Wangeshi Maina has checked in. Karibu sana Wangeshi. Connie, you've checked in. Good to see you, Connie. It's been a minute right there. I hope Jojo is going to join us. We would love to hear your comments on the subject today. What teachable moments have you been part of? How have they impacted your life? So I'm just going to give a little recap, Nancy, and please stop me where you feel we could add in a bit more value. Creating teachable moments. According to Nancy, in her opinion, we need to dial in. We need to dial in. That means we need to be present. We need to be present so that we can see this opportunity that we can take advantage of. Are you taking advantage of these opportunities, ladies and gentlemen? or are you letting them fleet away? Number two, we need to engage in opinions. It is not disrespectful. I know you may come back and say culturally, a child should not speak. They should only be seen. They should not speak. This is modern day age. Our children are speaking. We're encouraging their curiosity. They know because of our values, it is not disrespectful. If they actually cross that line, we have boundaries we set. We need to engage in opinions. Allow them to speak and you guide them. Questions, remember the why, because of the becauses. Questions and the answers are the ones that are going to help us continue with a dialogue, honest dialogue. The level of understanding, Nancy, the level of understanding is so important because our children in different stages understand differently. And therefore, we need to take that into consideration. And then we need to encourage our children's line of thought. We need to hear them out. Insinuating, I already covered that one. Nancy, I would like us to continue on the various ways that we can have teachable moments, because we don't want to miss out on them in life. And as you're just lining them up for me, I see that Lily Lily, it's been a minute, Lily. Good to see you here. Lily, you say you're glad that you got the session in progress. Asante sana for joining us, Lily. We appreciate you. We are talking about optimizing teachable moments. And I know, Lily, you've got a little one at home. Share with us how you have optimized on teachable moments, what opportunities that you have picked out, or even more importantly, what inexpensive ways have you carried out when it comes to teaching your little girl something? So Nancy, what are the various ways of teachable moments in my everyday life?
Yeah, there are various ways of going about it, but one thing that we need to keep in mind is teachable moments, especially when borrowed from the environment at that nick of time, it stretches the imagination of the child.
Wow.
It awakens their curiosity about the world, and also it stimulates their thinking, their brains, and motivates them through their senses and get them fully involved. It is actually even best when it comes from the child. The child has asked that question, so inherently they are fully involved. You can now manipulate their senses, you can stretch their imagination and just go for it. So some of the ways you can take charge of a teachable moment, I'll give an example. Let's say you're coming from church and you're on your way home. You participated in the sermon and the sermon did not seem quite age appropriate, to the children. So you can find out from the children in the car as you are driving, begin a dialogue, maybe based on the Sunday school teaching or in the sermon, if they were together with you in the sermon, and ask them what it is they understood. But based on you, because it's coming from you, this is a teachable moment that you are creating. In such a case, it's not the child who asked what happened, what was discussed in church today. You're the one creating a moment. So find out how much do they know. And after you have known how much, now you put in that belief that you believe the priest or the pastor did not talk about. So you end up recapping and, more or less like putting an icing on top of the sermon. So it becomes a family discussion.
I remember, Nancy, sorry to interrupt. I remember with my children growing up, that's what I did after every mass, and we're on our way home, and we'd have that conversation. It got to a point whereby I never had to start the conversation. So as we would leave, they were clamming to tell me what it is that they learned and what their understanding was. And as they grew older, the conversation changed. In fact, it was more of whys, because you see, now they were living their lives, they were able to challenge or question deeply what the word was saying, and they were seeking answers, and it came to a point where I did not have the answers. When the children are younger, you are their everything. they say that mommy and daddy know everything. You ask and they will give you an answer. It's a perception that a child has. And then when they become the teenagers, this is the time when the vulnerability of the parent then comes out, because it's all about teaching one another. And I would actually say, I don't know the answer to that. Why don't we read it up? Why don't we look it up? Or what do you think? Because at this point, like what you said in creating teachable moments, the child has an opinion. And therefore, our conversation changed as I realized they became teenagers. Today, they're adults. Mm-hmm. And our conversations are on another totally different level. The choices that they are making now are based on the foundation that we laid down for them. And in fact, I remember there was a time in their teenagehood, there was a deep, and this deep question was about religion. And my intention is not to play down religion. It is the lesson learned that I want to play up here. And from my children, it was about, why do we subscribe to this faith? Why don't we subscribe to a different faith? And I remember my answer, because I hold true to that answer today. I say, I have a responsibility as a parent to guide you. It did not come with a manual. So with my value and my beliefs that I'm bequeathing to you, this is the faith of the day for me. Now, once you become an adult, you turn 18, you are free to choose. It was a very interesting conversation to have with my children, because then they knew at that point, in the near future, they could change if they wanted. They were not tied down to this one thing they had to do because mommy and daddy did it. The conversation came back now when they're adults. Mm-hmm. And now they were coming from a point of also the same vulnerability, and we are discussing openly. But how did this happen? Because of engaging in their opinions. So I love that idea that you're giving. I just wanted to add in there for the audience that in teachable moments, the children are at different ages, and there are certain aspects that will be brought to the table because of things that you have intentionally done as they grew up. Therefore, now they hunger for that knowledge. And then they even question it. And it is not disrespectful, it is curiosity, which is a value that you need to be able to cultivate in your child. Team Katama, being a servant leader as a parent to a child, a manager to a subordinate, etc., is key. Oh, Team Katama, I love the words you're using. Being a servant leader. What we do, how we act, gives a better lesson of impact than what we just say. So true. What we do and how we act gives a better lesson of impact than what we just say. So true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It gives a better teachable moment that lingers longer on the student's mind than what we just say. This is so true. This is so true. So we moved on from the church. Where else then can we have an opportunity?
Opportunities do arise. Sometimes it could be with visitations. You know, being the servant leader, as Katama has mentioned, you have visitations whereby you have visitors coming to your home, or you go visiting. In such a case, the child observes what is it that is happening. When you go visiting, are you the person to sit all through, or are you having an eye to help, an eye to assist the host, or you know, just being there in the nick of time? You're not just fully on the phone and, you know, busy with gadgets, but you're looking for that moment to serve. Yes. So that also means a lot. There's also you're going visiting. What is it? How are you going there? Are you carrying a chondo? A chondo is basically a basket. Are you carrying a basket with a gift to whom you're going to visit? And what is the meaning of that basket? Is it because whom you're going to visit is without, is in need? No, it's a tradition. It's a belief that when you go visiting, you carry something. So in that way, you also impart that belief. You impart the values of helping, assisting, serving, which are very important. So giving up your seat for the elderly could also be one of the teachable moments. You know, a child is sitting, you're at a wedding or a birthday party, and an elderly person is standing. This child is a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old. You could actually let them know, an elderly person, you need to move. Not only elderly, even my size, I should be given a seat by a 7-year-old. You know,
teachable
just
moments.
as courtesy. But you know, they will not know about it unless you bring it to them at that nick of time. You need to give this seat.
So you know what you were saying about the antenna, you know, the dialing in, then that antenna of yours really needs to be on full charge, because since it is a lifestyle, since it is your intentional living choice to be teachable moments, you are looking out for these opportunities, as you so rightfully said in the beginning, on the onset of our discussion, that it becomes second nature. Everything is a teachable moment, and vice versa. This child also could be teaching you something. So what are you doing as you're receiving? Are you receiving with an open mind, open heart? So this child can actually, like what Katama says here, learn from you that, oh, you can also be taught. Because what happens now with adults, if a child today is trying to teach me something on how to do things, oh, here's a perfect one, driving. I have driven for many years. For many, many years, I have driven. And therefore, I should be a good driver, in my opinion. But I could be sitting in the car with a youngster who has got a different idea of how to drive smart. Because again, things evolve, you know, how to drive smart. So it could be about the idling space of the engine. It could be about the consumption of the petrol. It could be about the tires that I have. It could be about my engine. It's all about driving here. You know, what it is I can be doing in the vehicle, my car, the music system, the steering wheel, the stability of the car, my emergency brakes. You know, am I teachable? That's the whole thing as an adult. Because then it can be the reverse. I really love what Tim said here, and the fact that you're alluding to the same thing. It says how we act gives a better lesson of impact than what we just say. So the child then is not left in a situation saying, how come mommy and daddy are always teaching me, and when I try to teach them, they block? And if you block, Nancy, tomorrow when you try to teach this child in a teachable moment, they will block. So Katama, I'm loving your engagement, and please continue. I know you're saying great session from you, honorable ladies. I hope you're not signing off. Stay, Katama, and please continue to interact with us. Lily Katule, I'm learning to let my 3-year-old lead with her curiosity and ask questions. How beautiful is that? 3-year-old. I mean, their curiosity is so pure. It's so pure. The questions that they ask based on what she discovers from that. And just like Nancy was saying, she started a thought process there that she didn't quite complete it. She was alluding to the fact when she talked about the church example, and she said it didn't come from the child, it came from you. You see, again, I'm listening to the things Nancy has not said and what she intends to say. That if a child is the one who brings up the topic, how are you going to be able to use that as a teachable moment? It comes from this curiosity. The child is captive audience. Yes, Nancy?
Yes.
There's already the buy-in.
In most cases, it's the child who drives the discussions.
Yes, yes.
It's just rarely that you should create the moment. You create the moment when you see there's a gap, there's a need to impart. Yeah. But otherwise, in most cases, it is their curiosity, their whys, their questions are what drive the teachable moment. Beautiful. For example, you can have even an illness. It doesn't have to be something nice, an illness. Why am I sick? Why? Why do I have to be sick? So you can go into a biology session in there based on why am I sick? Discuss immunity. Your immunity is low, and probably it could be because of the weather. You know, you've heard of being under the weather. Mommy, what is being under the weather? So
Yes.
you go ahead and describe, you know, under the weather, it's pretty cold, your immunity drops. And when immunity drops, viruses come up and, you know, they multiply much faster, and that way you become sick. So you end up discussing an illness. Out of an illness, there's a teachable moment. And that came from a simple curiosity question of, why do I have to be sick? Why do I have to miss school? Do I really have to be home? Yes, you have to be home. Why? Because you're going to infect the others. Viruses and bacteria do move from one person to the other. So it's good if you go under treatment, you see. So
Wow, Nancy.
for instance,
I mean,
the
you're
child
already taking
suffers.
us into a biology lesson already, just from that one question. See, guys, do you see how she's taking us through her take on optimizing on teachable moments? They are all around us, these opportunities that we need to have. And like she's suggesting, we have to be flexible with what we have around us and make it fun to understand. And just finishing on Lily's comment here, she says, 3-year-old lead with her curiosity and ask questions based on what she discovers from that. I am a very uptight parent and I am learning to let go. Oh, bless you, Lily. And let the child be a child. Yes, let the child be a child. Jump on me, just spread the bed, pour water on the carpet, and not react like she has killed anyone. Yes, it's never that serious, Lily. I'm really learning to let loose and engage with her at her level of understanding, as you've heard that from Nancy, from her level of understanding. And I love the examples that Nancy has already given us from the visitations to church. And now she's even talked about an illness. However, as she went through this, she used some 3 very distinguished words, you know, and I was thinking to myself, wow, Nancy's on a roll here. So she said, stretching the imagination. So I'm imagining how you can stretch something. The beautiful thing about children is their pure thought process. You know, I'll give you a perfect example. This morning, my grandson and I were in the kitchen, and since last night, my iPad had decided it wasn't working. And he just looked at me, and he looked at his father, and he looked at me, and he said, all you have to do is press the home button and the off and on button at the same time. Are you seeing? This is a 9-year-old in my kitchen, his father and me. These are now 3 generations. And he's told us how to turn on this iPad. Are you seeing the generation of tech? There it is. At this point, we didn't have to try what he told us. If we were not parents who are open up to being taught, we could have just said, what do you know? Can you move to the room now? We are talking here, parents are talking. But we listened to him and we said, really? Let's try. And guess what? Eureka, my iPad is working. And the boy looked at us. He was so shy. And I said to him, never doubt your purity, my son. Never doubt it. Your age is beautiful. By the time you get to my age, you've got biases. And therefore, before you suggest something, you're already thinking, what will people say? How will it look like? Will I be right? Am I an authority on this subject? He just blurted it out. In fact, I remember he was opening the fridge when he was hearing us talking. And then he just talked while he was in the fridge. We're like, what? He repeated, Eureka, iPad working on you. I'm going ahead of myself. And we actually have only 5 minutes to go. Nancy, I'm going to ask you for takeaways in a minute. You talked about stimulating the mind. Powerful. So Lily, if you're listening to us, you want to stretch her imagination, you want to stimulate her mind, and you want to manipulate her senses. Tell me those are not powerful words from Nancy. There's some other words or another level, Nancy, you know, put together in this way. I'm loving them. I'm loving it. I'll repeat them for your sake, Lily. Stretch her imagination, stimulate her mind, and manipulate her senses. And let's see. We have Winnie Njuguna who has joined us. Karibu sana, Winnie. Good to have you here. We're coming to the end, Nancy. I know there are many other various teachable moments that you want to share with us, but the three that you've given us are so profound. I will request you, please, that after this session to go onto our Facebook wall and just drop another 2 or 3 so that we can stretch our imagination also as adults. So I do not leave my guests without takeaways. Could you give us some 3 takeaways that we can just go and apply immediately, or just that can summarize, Nancy?
Okay, now before the takeaways, may I just mention a disclaimer? You do not have to be so knowledgeable in all these areas.
Wow.
See a moment, grab it, and you have, iPads and phones. Go ahead, Google quickly and find out, how can I help? What information can I chip in here? So don't look blank. Don't let that moment pass. For as long as you've seen it's a teachable moment, grasp it, seize it, and go ahead and impart that knowledge. Research on it. And in some cases, even involve the child. Do a research together. Let's find out who has the biggest eyes on the planet. Find out together. That will forever be remembered.
Yes.
About teachable moments, as we have seen now, the takeaways, take advantage of the opportunity. One takeaway, take advantage of the opportunity to impart knowledge at any place or time, whether be it in the car, market, kitchen, matatu, a car trip, wherever. A visit to the dentist, just take grasp of the opportunity. It's not expensive, inexpensive, yet highly valuable. Invaluable, if I can, inexpensive and invaluable. It's a tool you can use for as long as you're doing it in honesty. And of course, it is safe now that it's from you to the child. And it's done with love. It's done intentionally at that moment when curiosity is high. And it gives you closeness with the child. It fosters a closeness right there. It's flexible. It's flexible to use. You can use varied learning tools. For example, you can use role playing. You can role play. You can have a biology nutrition class in the kitchen. Right there, you learn all the food groups and their nutritional aspects. And this you can research in advance, or even at that moment, you can go ahead and find out more. If it's gardening that the child is doing, for example, that little garden to find out the cycle of plants and what have you, the materials are right there, the seeds, the soil, the water, the internet is there, the YouTube is there. So you have all that it takes. You're fully equipped. All you need to do is grasp the moment. Any moment is a teachable moment. And if I may just end with a proverb, train up a child in the way they should go. And when he is old enough, he will not depart from it. So the training, it's not fixed. Is it automotive training? Is it how to repair bicycle training? All forms of trainings. For as long as you believe, you have a belief, you have a concept, or you have a value, impart it. That will not be departed from when the child has grown. So take hold of those moments from now on.
Wow, amazing and very profound, Nancy. I mean, a lifestyle based on one's deliberate attempts to live according to their values and beliefs. And this is what you've just said about imparting it to our children. Very important for the legacy that we live. Question is, can we then enable learning to be more effective and productive? The answer is yes, yes, yes. To be more effective and productive, this is something a child will remember for life because of the way that they learned it. The way that they learned it was so close to their hearts. Yeah? So remember, guys, we don't need to be knowledgeable about everything. In fact, that vulnerability of when you don't know something is more powerful because a child feels they've taught you. I mean, my grandson today, wherever he is, he's walking tall. because he taught his father something and he taught his grandmother something. So you can see what this does for our cycle in life. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Winnie Njuguna says, from this, I'm learning to work on myself. Fantastic. To better myself as a parent. Many thanks from Laikipia. You're in from Laikipia, karibu sana. And you say practical lessons. Katama, we are signing off and you're saying, wow, asanteni guys. Nancy, asante sana for the knowledge that you have imparted on us. We do not take it for granted and we give thanks to you. Next week, we are bringing in a new month. And when we bring in this new month, we are talking about, just sustaining our purpose. And I'd like for you to be part of this as we start next Tuesday. And you've heard it from Intentional Living. What a beautiful month that it has been. I do hope you've had value. Please visit our wall, like, share, visit our YouTube where we put in our videos, subscribe, hit the notification button. We are all about helping to build one another. So ladies and gentlemen, until next week, be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye now.